You know, this year has been great for anime, with maybe the exception of the summer season. We've had lots of great shows like Horimiya, Slime, Wonder Egg, Beastars, Spider, Tomazaki-kun, Last Dungeon, Tokyo Revengers, Microdemia, To Your Eternity, Vivi, Odd Taxi, How Not to Summon a Demon. Okay, Matt, we get it. That's enough. Yes, there has been a ton of amazing shows this year, and fall 2021 looks to finish off this year with another batch of incredibly amazing anime. However, out of all of those great shows, there are always a few that manage to bubble up to the top. Shows that are truly extraordinary in an already incredible year. And although it would be hard to call a singular show the best show of the year, we have to talk about the show that is trying its best to claim that title: Mushoku Tensei. Now, there is a lot of drama surrounding Mushoku Tensei and the characters involved and how they aren't inherently good people, and I'm not going to talk about that in detail today because explaining that would take entirely too long. If you are interested in my perspective in this matter in detail, my good friend Hiding in Public has a fascinating video on the subject that I basically completely agree with, and I'll have a link to that in the description. The TLDR is, yes, a lot of the characters are shitty people. Rudius is one, and his father is a huge monster, but that's kind of the point. Not everybody is a shining knight of purity, and it's not like the anime is actively telling us to like these characters or that their actions were justified, because they weren't. The show isn't exactly a happy-go-lucky anime, so it fits that all of the characters have quite a few flaws built in, and some more than others. Anyway, now that we've got that huge mess behind us, let's finally talk about Mushoku Tensei. This show is truly one of the most well-rounded anime I've seen in the past couple of years, with the exception of Violet Evergarden. The art is great, the character writing is phenomenal, the world building is probably some of the most impressive we've seen from Isekai, and the story, man, the storytelling in this anime really is incredible. You see, the show starts off with a very simplistic plotline. Rudius is your classic NEET who dies saving someone's life and gets reincarnated into the new world. And it's just him going through his early formative years. But the interesting twist is that unlike most shows where the character was a NEET in their old world and just immediately get over it, Rudius doesn't. He struggles heavily with his past life's trauma. We see him terrified to leave the house, horrible at making friends, and just atrocious at reading social situations. He is a prodigy in magic, but he is terrible at close combat, despite his father being insanely good. It almost feels like, hey, he's actually a balanced character. But the storytellers have this great trick that they keep using to make this basic storyline have more depth and get infinitely more complicated. Basically, Rudius isn't in control of his life. Unlike most isekai where the main character is an adult and overpowered and they can do whatever they want, Rudius isn't. So the writers abuse this fact. Rudius finally starts getting comfortable in his body and with his family. Well, now his parents force him to leave the house and he has to learn how to make friends. Okay, Rudius is finally getting comfortable in his village. Well, guess what? Now Rudius has to leave his village and his friend to go teach magic to the local noble family's daughter. Okay, Rudius finally gets comfortable around the nobles and begins to get into a rhythm. Well, now a disaster happens and they are teleported to the other side of the world. The show keeps adding these layers of story into the base plot, giving each section another layer of complexity. And it makes sure their storytelling never gets stale while also building up more and more storytelling elements. Rudius's main goal is ever changing as his life gets more and more complicated. He wants to get back to Sylphie so they can go to a magic university together, but first he must finish training Eris in magic. However, halfway through their training, they get teleported to the other side of the world, so now their new goal is making their way back home. And each time they take a step forward, they get knocked back 2 steps. It's so good, and I just love how ruthless the writer is with these characters. They really aren't afraid to make Rudius pay dearly when he gets aggressive or just makes an assumption based on video game knowledge, because the point of this world is that it's not a game. It's dangerous, and Rudius has gotten people killed because of this. And finally, as I was just building it up, we got one of the biggest reality bombs dropped on Rudius this last episode. Basically, Rudius was once again thinking in video game logic and assumed the mana disaster only affected Eris and himself. But when Rudius happens to bump into his father, it's revealed that the entire village has been displaced. People like his mother, one of his sisters, and Sylphie have yet to be accounted for. And the messed up thing is that if Rudius had just bothered to ask anyone about it on the local continent, he would have known what happened. He could have easily helped and tried to rescue family members, probably saved lives. But once again, Rudius made another major mistake in his life and will have to pay for it. I'm sorry, but it's so good the way these storytelling methods are compounded on each other. And of course, the character writing in the show is incredible as well. So this is mostly told by his father yelling at him and trying to beat Rudius up for being a self-absorbed little shit, then Rudius kicking his father's ass because Rudius is way stronger than him now. There is just so much thought put into this show that it blows my mind. Every episode is just so jam-packed with storytelling, character writing, and world building, and it's just one of those animes that despite never really leaving you on a cliffhanger, you just desperately want more. Mushoku Tensei really is in the running for the best anime of the year. They keep slowly but steadily adding these layers of storytelling that just give the show so much depth. And of course, I feel like I should have said this earlier, not all of them are left open-ended, but just enough to keep you always wanting to watch more. Mushoku Tensei really is the best isekai that there is, and even then, it just keeps pushing to get better.